sultry.
Sultry. Not sultry like Kate's picture earlier, but.
No.
Oh, Adrian, you taught me.
That picture I had was bad.
So my viral video, it kept getting like shared and like, you know, like Babel or whatever, like all these different like Upworthy and all that. We kept like grabbing it and like sharing it. And by the end, it was like me, like, I'm not lying. Like I was like, come on.
The one time the Today Show, I was never interviewed by the Today Show, but they came and followed Jack and I as we went through the grocery store. And
I
they came back to the house and like did a little video segment. And my friend Audrey was like, "Who hates you at the Today Show?" Because I was like, oh, they choose. Yeah, they choose. I mean, they could fix that, don't you think?
Yes.
They just don't care.
They don't want you to look better than them because then you might come and take Hoda's job.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever want Hoda's job ever. But
does anyone wonder why Hoda does double duty? She does like all 3 hours of the Today Show, and I wonder if she gets paid more than just Savannah, because Savannah only does the first hour.
I didn't know.
Say, having met, you know, I bet all of us have met all of them. I think Hoda is by far the nicest.
I haven't met Savannah, but I met Hoda, and she was lovely.
I've never met any of them.
Well, the Today Show, when are they going to, like, they used to, like, you'd go up there. It was kind of a big deal. They need to bring that back.
Oh, she does seem nice. The Today Show is such a cornerstone of when I was a new mother, because I would get up in the morning, I'd be nursing. We had this big blue leather recliner, and I'd put on the Today Show and I would nurse them. It was like a big part of my morning. Now,
do you know that Dr. Phil?
Yeah. When Matt Lauer had his trouble, I was like heartbroken because he was part of my life.
It was like it was personal.
I was like, how could you do this, Matt?
He hid that from me. And then 4 o'clock. I mean, you guys, you're younger than me, but 4 o'clock was like Oprah time. The kids would get up from their nap around 2:30. We'd do a few things in the afternoon, and then we all kind of chill out for an hour and I'd be nursing and I'd watch Oprah. It was a big part of my day.
Yeah.
Oprah. No, I would get dinner ready at 5:30 because Wonder Pets came on television.
Oh.
Remember the Wonder Pets?
That's after my time.
5:30 to 6. That was I could get, and you know, now they can just watch whatever they want, whenever.
They have no idea.
Like, I wonder what I would have done with Amos back in the day.
So let me tell you, I have a story in my book. So we couldn't afford cable when Jamie and I were first married and had Cooper, which just wasn't a possibility. And back then it was VHS tapes. There wasn't, so this would have been, he's 12, almost 13. And PBS was the only channel we got. And PBS is actually a lot of adult programming for most of the day. It would just play a little bit of kid stuff. And Mr. Rogers would come on at 5 a.m. and like our world would be okay. And then it ended at like 10:30. And then it was like,
like a
we liked PBS too. Yeah.
Yeah. PBS was a staple. It's still a staple for Cooper.
We had an antenna, but the antenna, you got plenty of shows.
On what?
On our, like, we put an antenna on the chimney and we got like 30 channels.
Well, there's nothing on them.
Yeah.
On the channel.
A lot of DVDs.
Oh yeah, you got there's a whole show called We TV, a channel called We TV.
Oh. Wasn't it like Angela Lansbury on that channel?
Yeah, it's not real good. And then there is another channel, and all it plays is not Facts of Life, the one with Michael Keaton.
Oh, I love that show with Mallory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. I grew up watching that show.
I'm singing the Cheers song. There's a channel from the antenna. That's the only show it plays.
That's the only show. There's not that many episodes of that show, is there?
Family Ties.
Family Ties. They just
yeah.
play Family Ties. I think they're like 9 seasons.
Do you remember the show with Corky?
I never watched Corky.
He had Down syndrome.
Yes,
I never watched.
Corky had Down syndrome, right?
Yes, Jamie and I talk about that show, like how like Corky like impacted our like life at a young age.
Wow. Was that on Sunday nights?
I think so. Life Goes On. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Oh,
no.
Was that right?
I think that was on right after the Fred Savage show.
A Wonder Years. I never watched that
Oh,
either.
oh, me like Wonder Years.
You too. That's funny.
Yeah.
I grew up watching The Cosby Show. Like that was our Thursday night staple.
Thursday night, 8:00.
Well, do you remember Friday night TGIF? Thank goodness it's Friday. It was Urkel. Urkel. What was Urkel's show?
Oh, yes.
It
No,
was
we
like
were
4
like
shows
out on
on Friday
dates.
night.
You were home young watching television.
Well, yeah. But I mean, my family, we would sit down on Friday nights and watch Sister. Yeah. And there was a dinosaur show for a while. We would sit down and watch the 4 shows.
I
We
must.
watched Alf.
Oh,
yeah.
we bought that for all of our kids. The kids, we watched it with all of them. They loved it. Alf is
Full House, Step by Step, Family Matters. Yes.
Family Matters.
What was the biggest series you watched during COVID?
Ted Lasso.
Joe Exotic. The Tiger
Oh,
King.
yes.
Changed my life.
What was that?
I
Not Joe
watched-
Exotic. Is that what it was called?
The Tiger King.
Oh my God.
Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, I love Little House on the Prairie.
Adrian, I just thought of you because did you say that you reread the series every year?
Oh yeah, I'm a big rereader of books.
Okay, because I
just
have
started
the
Caddy
whole series.
Woodlawn.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna reread it because those books, I always bring this part two. I always mention 2 things that sometimes they don't remember. Do you remember when they blew up the pig's bladder and like played ball with it?
Yeah, I played with it.
Okay.
That was in the Little House in the Big Woods.
And then do you remember in the Little House in the Big Woods when they made the candy in the snow?
Yep,
Yes, with the
molasses.
red. Yes. I want to go
No.
visit that space one day.
Come to
The
Minnesota.
long winter. Ma
Mm.
Ingalls and I in the long winter really connect.
My life is a perpetual winter.
Long winter. Those are favorites of mine. And then they always say that they were not that far from town during the long winter. Like it was not as dramatically far. They were not as isolated as you thought.
Well, they lived in town during the long winter. They moved into town. But
Right.
the blizzards were so bad. And they ran out of food. They just had potatoes. And then they had to twist hay to have fire and heat.
Someone said there's a Little House reunion next year in Minnesota, 50 years. Get your asses here, girls. We're going
Wow.
out.
I smell a photo op.
Whoop, whoop.
We can go to Target and get our dresses.
Oh yeah, that's all that's out now. That's what my daughter wears.
Oh, we're gonna make this a thing. We're gonna be the social media influencers at the Little House.
I am
No
all
more
over
Today
it.
Show.
Get out of here. Get out of here, Hoda.
She's got nothing on us.
Get out of here.
I want Almanzo to show up. I loved him.
Gosh, wasn't he cute? That's why I had to watch the series because
What's
I could not
Almanzo? I don't know what
remember.
that means. Who's that?
Almanzo is Laura's husband.
Husband.
And then Mary, I wanted to see when Mary went blind. There were all
Oh,
these
that when she
key-
went blind was the
Oh,
there's an episode. Like I missed all the key episodes because it came on at 4. Some days you had, your mom took you to the grocery store, you missed it.
Yeah.
So I really was intent on watching the
Well,
missed-
you watched it in real time. You're saying during COVID you didn't watch it on Netflix. You watched it in real time on the television.
No, during COVID, the series was on
Oh.
something streaming, and I watched the whole series during COVID.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually. My kids would have enjoyed that, I think. Well, not
My
the
children did not watch it. That was actually a really good way to get them to leave the room immediately.
You know what's funny? So as I get older, okay, as we're settling into this age thing, I've started liking TV that's like really easy to watch. So like one of the big ones is it's just like easy Heart of Dixie. So Heart of Dixie is like, it has Zoe Hart, she's from Rachel Bilson. But it's like, my mom would describe it as like, it's like a nice show. There's like no swearing. There's no like naughty parts. And it's really good. And like, I used to kind of chuckle at it. And now it's like, oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's
Like
just
Virgin
nice.
River.
Yes, like Virgin River.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Although
that.
I watched Virgin River, I've just started the latest season. And last night, Preacher had a little sexy scene with a firefighter.
I only saw like 2 episodes. I just didn't get into it. I like something a little more than that, like a Schitt's Creek.
Did you see The Summer I Turned Pretty?
No,
No,
everybody's
you
talking
can't
about
talk
that.
Oh, good.
Is it naughty?
really good? Is it?
Yeah, it's not what I'd call a nice show, but it's not bad either. It's not like Bridgerton.
I loved Bridgerton. I binge watched the whole first season like on one
Bridgerton
Saturday.
is basically like allowable porn.
Kind of.
The
But
first
it's just-
season.
It
The
bothered me.
Queen Charlotte was phenomenal. Did anyone watch Queen Charlotte?
Mhm.
No.
Carrie, you would it's a spin-off
It
of
is good.
Bridgerton. I think it's better
Yeah.
than Bridgerton.
Really? Oh, I'll do that tonight. I have the television to myself. Joe already fell asleep, so
Mhm.
He's already asleep.
he had to go into Boston today. The poor guy. I do feel bad for him. So I have been sick since Wednesday. I'm fine. It's just a cold. But he had tickets to the Bills game today. Bills play Patriots, but Joe is a Bills fanatic. But my daughter rows for crew, so she had to row in this huge crew event called the Head of the Charles. It's a big deal, the Charles River in Boston. So he had to give up going to the Bills game to go see her because I couldn't make it.
Oh, what a good dad.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
So now he's sacked out on the couch. He was there. You know, these crew events are not for spectators. Like, it's not a spectator sport. You just wait. He's like, there were 90 boats lined up, and you try to pick her out of one.
Oh, yeah.
And he brought all.
I saw you.
We have filmed the wrong boat so many times. I can't even tell you. So he brought Charlie, Henry, and then this friend of Charlie's, James, and then he took them all out for sushi afterwards. So he's had a day.
He's done.
He's done. That's okay. But I'll watch my own TV. I'm excited.
Oh my God, Jamie's screaming at Harbor. Oh gosh. Okay.
Oh,
Let's do introductions quickly, and then I have I have a two-part question for us. So the host typically brings questions. I have a two-part question. And then immediately after this, we're going to hop on my subscriber page. We all three of us have subscriber pages that are all a little different, and yet we have crossover. And some people follow all three of us.
Yeah.
We're going to do a Q&A over there. So bring the hard-hitting journalistic questions.
like Hoda would.
Yes. Can you guys do a quick introduction?
Go ahead, Adrian. I want you to speak.
Please go first.
Get nervous when you don't.
It's evil.
I'm just
I
going
am
to cough all the
Adrian.
way through it.
Adrian Wood, author of Tales of an Educated Debutante. I have 4 children, 3 teenagers, and 1 little person with autism who is sick currently. Sick.
Oh. Did you bring him in?
Who, what?
Did you bring him in, or are you going to bring him in tomorrow?
Oh, no, we did the virtual appointment today. You pay $55 and you talk to the doctor who gives you antibiotics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I just did virtual 3 times for my armpit rash, and the 3rd time they wouldn't give me any more drugs.
Oh, you're
What was the armpit rash?
It's like a thrush, like a yeast infection. Apparently, it's
that's
super
what Carrie and
common.
I said. I could have told you that for free.
Okay, you guys. So I am telling you,
the diflucan. We told you to get some.
They won't give it to me. I'm gonna just tell you the story really quickly. So I have this terrible, terrible rash. And the more I like secretly talk about it, because it's embarrassing, because I feel like I'm dirty, people like message me. They're like, I have an armpit rash too. Want to see it? Like, it's like we're like in this like secret club. I have so many armpit photos on my phone. But so they first gave me like an antifungal, then they gave me nystatin. Then I started going to the under the table drugs off the internet, like a Tufactin Tinactin powder. I like
diflucan.
They won't give it to me unless I go in and get my liver tested. Apparently, to get it, you have to get your liver tested. I'm like, this is not like a narcotic.
I'll overnight you one.
Okay. So I'm just telling you, but also it's also, I've never had this because I'm small chested, but apparently this is common under the chesticles.
Oh, I don't have to worry about that.
I've never had it.
Yeah.
It is nice.
I had a friend that used to call them sweater puppets.
Oh,
sweater what?
Sweater
rough.
Sweater puppets. Okay, here you go.
All right. Well, I'm Carrie Cariello. I'm married to a man named Joe. We've been married 25 years. We have 5 kids. What?
I'm married too. I forgot to know we were supposed to talk about that.
Rachel goes, are you talking about me and my rash pictures? Rachel, you're like 1 of 10. I have so many armpit rash photos.
Please stop interjecting with rash during my introduction. It sort of sours the whole feel, you know?
Moist.
Itchy. Okay. You're fine. Okay. Classy lady, go.
And I'm not even going to show my book because I don't want it associated with rashes.
Rash. Please show your book because you're like a bestseller already.
Well, thank you. We have 5 kids. Our second son, Jack, is diagnosed with autism. He is 6'6", maybe 6'5" at least.
Oh my gosh.
He's giant. We've successfully launched him into a college program. I just got off the phone with him before we hopped on here. He tells me that They, in the space where he lives with 44 other students, they have to wear masks in public spaces now because 5 of them have COVID.
Oh, how does he do with that?
He's a rule follower, so he doesn't mind the mask. But what I worry about is he will start to police other people who don't.
That's Cooper.
He's also like kind of a detective. You know, they're not going to share who has COVID, but he'll start to deduce who might have COVID and sort of police their behavior. So there's a lot of nuances to Jack.
It's a real casual guy.
Oh yeah, 6 something, really casual. He did bake some spider cookies. I just posted about that on my page. So I am the author of What Color is Monday. Someone I'm with has autism, and then my latest is Half My Sky. Kate, these 2 lovely ladies here helped me choose the photo. All credits go to Kate and Adrian. Both have an endorsement on the back page. Highly coveted space, you guys, for this delisted self-published memoir.
Like, what is like a really like crappy like magazine? Like, they endorsed it. Like, these are the best.
Okay,
one of the best books.
Highlights.
Travel in Wilderness of Ontario endorsed it and said,
it's
must read. It's a must read.
I'll take it.
Actually, I will say it's my favorite book so far. It is my most powerful, my most personal. And I said it before in this space that it's like my legacy. Like if something happens to me tomorrow, like if I get an underarm rash or something like that, my family will know how I feel about them.
Mm-hmm. So the real critic that matters though is Adrian's mom.
True.
Adrian's mom loved my book.
Oh, she did. Mm-hmm. Of course she did.
Mm-hmm. So you have to send her a copy, and then whatever she says, then I will.
She loves me.
My mother is one of the few people I know that if you send her a book, she's going to write you a thank you note. And then, or she gives you a book and you write her a thank you note, she writes you a thank you note for your thank you note.
Oh, funny.
She's the kindest human. I mean, I met her on the cruise, and you know, Adrian's very open about how you lost your brother.
Yeah.
We had friends that lost their son at that time. It had been a year and a half before, and they are still reeling. It's horrible. And she sent them her book. And she was so generous with me. And I didn't want to do it in a way that cost her something emotionally, but I really was curious, like what that healing process was like for her. So I could offer it to these people and say, like, life will never be the same, but I met this woman who has found joy again. So she is really a special person.
What is her book called, Adrian?
Her book is, where is it? It's called Beyond the Eclipse. And she wrote it over about 20 years. And it's just kind of almost like short prayers, I would call it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
My friend devoured it. She says she loves to hear from people who are not on the other side. That's not the quite right way to capture it, but like who have endured it.
Yeah. And really get it.
Yeah. And get it. Exactly.
And get it.
Well, awesome. Okay. So my topic today,
I feel like we're on the dating game. This is so good. The topic.
I'm calling it under the microscope. So I'm wondering, I'll just set the scene. Our family of 6 went on a pumpkin train today, and it was, you're going to laugh so hard. So I didn't look into it. I just assumed, stop it, Adrian.
I told you it was a bad idea. Nobody listens to me.
What she wrote in the text, she was like, she's on that horrible pumpkin train.
Here's the problem. So it was a half an hour train ride. On the tickets, it said 1 to 2 p.m. 1 to 2 p.m. They brought us a half an hour away and dropped us off, and the train left for an hour. I had an actual moment where I thought of like running and launching my body in front of the train to try and stop it and not leave. Like, I'm not joking. It was, Cooper cannot, we always say you can't put him on ice. Like, you cannot put Cooper on ice. Like, I'm like, he is going to tear this mother effer down. Like,
but where were you? Like in a pumpkin patch?
Yeah, where were you?
We were in like a festival with like banjo music and bounce houses and fires, and I didn't even see the pumpkins, but there were so many people. It was my personal hell. I went with Rachel. She said pumpkin train legit. It said 1 to 2. It abandoned us. Jamie tried. He offered Cooper anything he would do to get back on the train. And he's like, Cooper and I'll ride the train back. And then we'll drive the car and come get you guys and save you. Cooper would not separate from me. So thankfully he found a bounce house, which we refer to as his own mini fight club.
Oh.
He just lays in there. But it was, I'm being funny, but there were really hard moments. Like we were under the microscope. Like people were, and so I would say something sad. And like Jamie, I talked about this after, like there's people that were like watching us, like, they were saying and thinking, I'm sure there's good people, but they were like, thank God that's not our kid. Like it was our hardest moment. And we were fully, I always say, I feel like I'm naked on a soccer field, this. He was literally like hitting his head on a fence and it was so hard. Oh my God, he screams. And, but truly all in all, we made it. We did it, right? We did it. But so I'm wondering, can you guys remember what was your hardest time? Like, we're going to do the positives too, but what was your hardest time, your hardest autism moment in public?
You go first.
I mean, honestly, so many spring to mind, and they seem probably so tiny to like the average family, but to me they were momentous. Jack at the ball field was so complicated. Charlie was is still our sports guy, and just bringing him to watch a game. I remember, this is so gross, but Jack used to, dig for treasure and pull it out and dispose of it back into his own body. And
this?
Yeah. And he's like 14, 15. We're not talking 3. And he was so deregulated at this one game. He did that. Everybody was watching him do that. I kind of got lit up. And then he started to race around the bleachers and me trailing him. And Joe was not with us that day for some reason. I will say this. I felt all eyes on me. Like you said, you feel naked, absolutely exposed.
Yep.
One of the kindest acts of somebody in our community who was not even in my immediate universe at all, just sort of a peripheral person, walked up to me and handed me a bottle of water. It was like the nicest
gives me goosebumps
gesture. And we talk a lot about like, how do you help people who are in the throes of some chaos? And I don't know, there's no one size fits all answer, because sometimes you don't want to be interrupted when you're trying to manage, but that meant the world to me. It symbolized that we belong to a community that sees us and is happy to support in the smallest of ways.
That made me think of, that's so powerful. So do you guys know Keeping Up with Kaya, Jen Dunn? She's like one of my dearest friends. She tells this story of like spending like a crazy amount of money to bring her daughter Kaya to Paw Patrol. And like, she got like the VIP, like Paw Patrol Live. And like when they made it to the front, like, I don't remember how this happened, but like her purse got knocked down and like everything like during the meltdown like came out. And she said that there were women that like picked up everything that fell. It makes me almost tear up, that like picked up everything for her and like held her purse. And I'm like, that is the most beautiful act you could do for someone, because you're so vulnerable.
Yes.
I had ours was well, really 2 things, very different. The soccer field, when we had like an all-star tournament all day, and we couldn't, as much as I like to not take Amos to stuff like that, sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
And he had run on the field, like, I mean, that kind of stuff is fine, like people laugh, like my friends laugh, like makes you feel welcome. But he was just getting potty trained. He was about 5.5. And he had to pee. And it was really cold outside. And so we were going to the bathroom, and I said, my son has autism, and he's just getting potty trained. Can we please break in the line? And the line was really long, like 30 people. And the woman said no. And I just felt so defeated. And this child behind her said, you can get in front of me. And I said, thank you so much. And we go in, we use the potty, and when we come out, I hear the child say to the woman, "Mommy, why didn't you let them get in front of you?"
It was her child.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, that is really powerful. And like,
It's really powerful. And I said, I just want to tell you how much to her, how much I thank you for that. I really, and she was maybe 11. I mean, little.
oh my gosh.
That's
You
incredible.
know, and it was just it. And who knows? Who knows if there's always like, well, somebody could be having a bad day or whatever. But the mother daughter thing. But like this past week, I wrote this post and about going to Lowe's, and you go to Lowe's and there's nobody in there. You're like, where do people work? I had to take Amos. He was in a bad way. He didn't have shoes. He didn't even have shoes like at all on the trip. We were just trying to get out of the house, get out of our whatever we were in. And he was in there. I mean, he was doing so many things wrong, but I had to get this tile. And this young man that was helping us, he never even flinched. Like Amos is bowling with carts, and he wasn't hurting anything, but he was being very disruptive. And it was just so nice to not have somebody like say, "Don't do that. He can't do that. Stop that." It was like just by not even paying attention to any of it felt like the bottle of water to me.
Right.
I completely understand.
Because I
Yes.
think even me, like, I think we oftentimes want to interject ourselves to like help. And it really showed me, like, you know what? You don't have to do anything. You can just smile and pretend you don't see it. And that could be a gift,
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
right? Anyway.
So, a couple days ago during our fall break, so it would have been on Thursday, Cooper asked me to go to the store. And this is brand new. Like for 12 years, he didn't want to leave the house. And this is just really recently that he will go to the grocery store. He goes to the paper store, Michael's, Joann's. I'm not sure if you have any of those. And the problem with the stores is that the cashiers, no offense to anyone, but it's very slow, very slow. Like I'm sure it's because it's a lot of like crafty items. I don't know, but we would typically prepare. And so we went to the paper store and we were like number 8 in line for one cashier. And I'll tell you, the first positive that happened was Cooper saw a chair like up by the end, like through the checkouts, and he went and took my phone and sat in the chair. And I was like,
wow.
oh my gosh, that's huge.
Wow.
But after like a minute of waiting, there was a shopping cart and it was like full of returns. So what he does is he wants to be obnoxious because he wants to go. He wants his stuff. He wants to hurry up. He's annoyed. So he took the shopping cart and he just kept tapping it into the wall. And everyone was staring at him. And like, then they were like staring at me because I was like, hey buddy, I'm like, 1 second, we're going as fast as we can. I'm like, and then I started kind of like threatening, like, do you want to go? I can put this down. We can go. And he like ran it kind of hard. So I'm like, that's it. We're done. And I set the stuff down. And as I stepped towards him, he was like, which is his calm hands. So I stepped back in line and this man behind me, he had to be in his mid 70s. Like I was like scared to make eye contact. And I like looked at him like, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that I stepped out of line. I was like, my son has autism and we're working through store situations. He's like, don't worry about it. He's doing a great job. And I was like, oh, like a puddle, like just a puddle.
Yes.
Right.
I felt so vulnerable. Like, do I leave the line? Do I leave the store? I never know what to do.
And those things sometimes loom so large in us, like when we do feel so on display, and people really aren't noticing as much as we think they are.
Well, I think that's true, but Cooper's his go-to is loud. So like today we were in line with all these. The thing is, I wrote this in a post I wrote today. It's like we're getting bigger and the clientele of these pumpkin trains, the ages are staying the same, 2 and 3 and 4. And
yeah.
He makes these like loud screams when he's frustrated. And it's like, oh, buddy. I'll show you this picture though. Sawyer is the best brother of anyone I have ever met in my entire life. I didn't even know I snapped this picture, but like, can you see Sawyer holding him?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's so sweet.
Sawyer has never gotten embarrassed once yet. He's just right in there.
Yeah, he's in it.
It's going to happen. It will happen, but he hasn't.
My crowd has gone through embarrassment. They've all been embarrassed. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't be embarrassed when somebody's like, I have to poop.
I agree. Yeah.
But they've gone through it, but then kind of started moving on the other side of that now. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of come full circle where now it's not so embarrassing, I guess.
Yeah.
I wonder if so how do I word this? Like, I don't know. I wonder if part of it is because Cooper's not verbal. So like Cooper appears at times to be significantly disabled just because of the mannerisms that he does. So I wonder if I sometimes feel like there's like this like softness in that with Sawyer. Like he needs so much help, Mom. You know?
And it's his older brother too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of a different, obviously we all have different dynamics.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So the second part of the question is, I mean, you kind of touched on this, but maybe a little bit more, because I get asked this often. What can someone do to help? What can they do to help in our hardest moments? And Carrie had a really good point. There's a lot of people that don't want help. Like when I'm in my hardest moments, I just have to get through this. But when I think of the nicest things people have done for me over the years, I had a woman touch my shoulder and like kind of whisper in my ear and say, "You're doing a great job." I've been there too. I've had someone take my cart for me when I was carrying Cooper out like this. And, you know, why I had a cart, I don't know. I've had someone hold doors for me when I'm carrying him. But just little gestures. They're not big and grand. They're just little things.
Yeah, and I think the point from what I like, and I try to do now, I'm the old mom here, I want some support externally. And what does that mean is don't get in the middle of the interaction between me and my kid. Don't interpret what that behavior is. Support a framework on the outside, water, hold the door. Charlie and I, we were at the pool one time a couple of years ago, and there was this one little girl. She was done, and she was giving her mother holy hell. And I said, Charlie, just go carry her bag down to the car for her. There was a long walk from the car, right? Alleviate the burden from the outside looking in, if that makes sense. Like, don't enmesh yourself in what the actual conflict is, because that's private. That's the heart of the matter to me. But a hand on my shoulder, or I like to say, you're doing all the right things, that goes a long way.
Hugely.
Yeah.
I can't hear her.
Yeah.
Oh, you're muted. Hello?
Oh, we're in for it now.
Oh, we really silenced her. Oh no.
I didn't do it on purpose. Don't make me laugh, I'll cough.
This is how I like Adrian, silent.
Oh, now we're going to be banned.
Don't message me. Don't message me and tell me.
I'm sick. I do not have COVID, by the way.
No, it's. Yeah, today was. Carrie, did you go through any moments though? Like, oh, is she gonna pop on now? Let's see. Should I let her back in?
I guess.
Paused.
Okay.
Am I talking now?
Oh, now you're back.
Oh, good.
You know what happened? I didn't have my focus on, and my son FaceTimed me. And when somebody calls you, it messes up the whole thing.
It really does. I know. I had to put my focus on.
It's so annoying. I have noticed recently, I was struggling with Amos, the interjecting yourself into something, that no help.
No.
But it's amazing to me, like it's downright funny that somebody thinks that Amos and I can like be in a standoff, that this random person feels like they're going to be able to
I know.
to drop in like Jesus Christ and save us all. I mean, like Amos, I'm like, it's not going to work. I mean, it's just so
but
funny.
I'm guilty. I am guilty of having tried to do that to myself.
Oh, like, I'm sure I used to do it, but I would never do it now.
I remember there was this woman we were outside of the grocery store. I didn't have my kids with me. I mean, my kids, I don't have little kids with me anymore. And she had this little guy in the cart. He would not get out of that cart. He was like 3. He was not. I'm like, well, what's your plan? Like all day you're going to sit here? What are you thinking? And she said, well, I said, because you have to have a plan. And she said, well, we're trying to get to like Party City to get balloons. And I said, oh, what balloon do you want? And he said, oh, I can't remember what he said. Maybe Wonder Pets or something. I said, you better get there fast. I was just there selling out like hotcakes. He was like, let me out of this cart. But looking back, that probably was like overstepping a little bit.
Well, no, that was nice. I think that the other thing I would say is when I'm having a hard moment is that just let me say it, but don't, like, if I say it, then I'll have like friends from here like texting me or even followers like, what's wrong? It's so bad. Like Kate, you said your followers said you're having a hard time. And I keep saying, it's really
Yes.
important. It's important to just say it so that it doesn't own you.
Yes.
I'm fine, but I'm going to say it and then I'm done.
I think we don't ruminate on it as much as people might think we do.
Because we're getting it out.
Yeah.
If I were sitting holding it in, I would be a wreck, but I'm not,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Adrian wants a hug, not.
I did say last week, I was like, if you see me in public today, do not hug me.
Which day was that? For the weekend or no, after?
No, it was just the week. It was the day I tried to get Amos to school, and at like 8:25, we were in the McDonald's drive-through, like heading back home.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. And don't you feel like your closest friends are the ones that know exactly what you need, like autism related or not? Like I remember I had a big surgery 4 years ago, and my 2 closest friends were like, we're not going to call you. We're not coming over. We're not bringing anything. We know you. You will let us know what you need.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's valuable.
Yes. Yeah, I just told a friend of mine tonight, I was like, Amos is going to miss school again tomorrow. He's sick. Can you drive for swim? It's my night to drive. She was like, yes.
Exactly. Adrian, I have to share with you that I showed Joe. Adrian sent me a video of Amos sort of like going through some. So he was
Carrie was giving me very good advice today. Carrie, thank you for that advice.
Well, we call it verbally looping, and I showed it to Joe. And do you know what Joe said? That's just like Jack with those radios. Jack used to loop.
Which is what you said all day long. Are we going to the airport? What month is it? We're going to go to the airport. I said, we're going to take a shower. We're going to take a shower. We're going to go to the airport. 3 freaking hours of that. I mean, this is why people drink a lot. I mean, it is torture. And Carrie said to me, we would tell Jack, we're not going to talk about it anymore. Well, I mean, I was like, I was so proud. I was like, Amos, we're not talking about that anymore. So then he was like, okay, we're going to take a shower and then we're going to talk about the airport. I was like, no, we're not talking.
Yeah. So like we have that, we have the same thing, just non-verbally, where it's like 100 times a day, he'll ask about the Polar Express, choo-choo. And then so this is what he does. Choo-choo. Yes, we're going to the Polar Express. Yes, we're going to sleep in the hotel. Yes, we're going to swim in the hotel. So finally, he'll ask me maybe 10 times a minute. And when we get to the 10th time, I kind of snap and I'm like, Cooper, you already know the answer. What is the answer? And he's like,
I do the same thing.
I'm like, you know the answer to this. But where I do feel compassion for this kid is that like every time I say it, he's like, oh.
Almost like it's a tick.
Relief.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's reassuring.
But we're not going on the airplane today. So I struggle with these things that become like they're not happening.
Yeah.
And then we have a big meltdown over like not getting on the German train this afternoon.
Yes.
It just feels weird to fall into a trap like that. Because I mean, there's no winning.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting you said Amos was reminiscing about something he left there years ago, the blanket.
3 years ago, he lost his blankie at Legoland. And today he said, we're going to get on the plane and we're going to go get the first blue and white blankie.
Because that's so Jack. Jack really has one foot in the past almost all the time.
We haven't talked about that blankie in years.
And the radios were ones that we used when we lived in Buffalo. It was a yellow plastic, like little tykes. And he started to dig it up when we, years after we moved. It's just so interesting how they think.
So, Adrian, did you know when he brought up the blanket initially, did you know what he was talking about?
Well, it took me a minute. It took me a minute because he said, we're going to go get the blue and white blankie. And I said, the blue and white blankie, he said, at Legoland. And then I thought, oh, yeah, we were leaving Legoland. We walked from the room to the car, lost the blankie, spent an hour looking for it, never could find it. They never could find it. The blankie vanished.
Wow.
Yeah.
Vanished.
Wow.
And he has a replacement blankie, which he really likes a lot. So I hadn't thought about the blankie,
Wow.
I hadn't thought about it.
The brains are like vaults.
So something before we hop off that you just said about you just want to be able to say that it's hard. You don't need a solution. You just need a space to say it. I find that I think this is exactly what you're feeling. Like, I have people that are like, think that I shouldn't say autism is hard. People that act like I shouldn't complain because he has special needs. People that want to fix it. I find that I have very few people that I can just sit with. My supporter group is probably the one where I can like be like, today was unbelievably hard. I don't think most people, like, it almost broke my husband. Like, my husband was like, this is never again. He's like, this was one of the worst experiences of our life. And I don't know if anyone outside of our world could know how hard it was. And I don't know if I have a space to really talk about that. Do you ever feel that? Like, it's so hard. This is so hard. It's getting harder.
I think for me, that being that Jack is older, my heart is different and it's harder to talk about because it is like his sexuality, his choices as a young man, his like the ways he's very vulnerable as a human being. They're almost like they're undercurrents, they're underground. People don't want to think about kids like ours growing into adults who want relationships, who want intimacy,
Right.
all of that. But back to what you were saying earlier is one of the worst phrases I think in the human language is at least. Well, at least you got to go. Where at least you got a pumpkin. Where at least. And I work really hard not to use language like that because I just think that so like diminishes somebody. Yeah, it's dismissive. Yeah.
I vented a little bit on my story today about just, so this is the emotional piece that we're going through right now. So on the ride home today, my husband said to me, and it about broke me. He's like, Kate, if we ever want to travel, like if we ever want to do anything, we're going to have to find respite for Cooper. He's like, or we're never going to do it. And my first reaction was like visceral. I was like, I'm not leaving him behind, but that's not the right answer either. Like, so we can never travel for the rest of our life. Like, we have the means, we can never go. And it could have been a really big fight. It wasn't, because I did not catch the ball. But he's right in saying that. He's not wrong. I don't know.
Would Cooper want to travel? Like, we have dear friends with a kiddo with cerebral palsy, and they left him behind for a wedding, and she was heartbroken. But the truth is, he wouldn't be comfortable sitting in a wedding. He wouldn't be interested in it. So there's no right answer.
One thing I'll say about Cooper is, and I get asked this a lot, he wouldn't know he wouldn't be angry if he was left behind. Like, I've had people say to me, like, wouldn't he just be livid if Sawyer went to Disney and he didn't? No, that wouldn't matter.
Right.
What would be really hard for him would be separating from me. I don't think he could do it. I think this last trip that I just took for 2 nights, he still isn't regulated. So I feel so much pressure. I don't know what to do. Like, and then can you imagine on social media, if we took our 3 kids somewhere and left Cooper back, people would eat me for dinner.
Yeah. That's a shame.
You've seen me do it a bunch of times. And, I think I just come at it from the way of, which is total truth, is siblings who shared with me their own stories of, I never did anything with my parents. They told these stories that broke my heart. And I thought, my kids aren't going to tell that story. And it doesn't mean we don't, I mean, I'm getting ready to take Amos on a cruise for his 10th birthday, and there's stuff we can do together. But I mean, you can't, some of it, sometimes I tell myself, like, I wouldn't have taken a typical 7-year-old on a ski trip. Like when you have a
Right.
wide age
Right.
range of kids, there's an age that's appropriate and there's an age that's not. And so it's not necessarily the autism, it's just in general. Our big struggle right now, or mine, is my oldest son is graduating from high school, and I can't for the life of me figure out how to take Amos to his graduation, because it is
Yes.
a lot
Yes.
of sitting and being quiet. And yes, he loves to go anywhere I am, like you, Kate. He
Yep.
really does not like me
Same.
to leave. But we would have to take our nanny, and he wouldn't be a part of anything. It would be like we were just having him there to like show for a minute. Like it doesn't make sense,
So if we took Cooper to Disney, let's just for the example, it's very similar to what you're saying. We would have to bring people with. We would have to rent an amazing house with a pool. He would probably never leave and be fine. He would just swim the whole time, and he loves a hotel. He loves a rental. Like he just loves that space. So it's like, are we bringing him with just to put him in a different space?
Yes. Yes. That's the reality of it. And that's a hard reality to, I mean, I want him to go. I want a picture of him with his brother in his cap and gown, like more than anything you can imagine that I'd want, I got a comment today, I sent it to y'all, where somebody was like, you don't let him go. And I mean, it was just all these things of like, you shouldn't, you do, you're not, you're this, and I'm like, holy cow. Like, it's just amazing to me that somebody really thinks they know what is going on in our hearts, with every decision we make. Like, know that we have spent 20,000 times longer than you have thinking about it.
And beat ourselves up and agonized and
Yes. Yeah.
lot
It's
of
terrible.
like Cooper can't go on an airplane. It's not a possibility. Don't throw at
Right.
me TSA cares or the sunflower lanyard. Cooper cannot go on an airplane yet.
Right.
So like I actually said to Jamie in the car, I'm like, well, I'll drive him. We'll go to Florida. I'll drive Cooper and you fly with the other kids. Well, that's effing insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a 26-hour drive.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know. I don't know the right answers. And I think that's part of a lot of what my journey is right now, sharing is like, I don't have the answers to these questions yet. And they're just coming up. And I agonize over them all the time.
And you're in a different place because he's your oldest and you have 3 younger ones. So Carrie's were all together. I had 3 older ones than him. So they have this kind of regular existence,
Yeah.
Right. I was thinking that Cooper being the oldest is a different scenario.
Autism has always been part of your journey, where we had years
I've
of
never been a mother without
freedom.
it.
Yeah.
Right. That is different. I had 7 years.
We have never, let's hop off here and go to the supporter page, but we have never went to a restaurant in 12 years. Oh, let's say 10. In 10 years, we've never stopped at an Applebee's. We've never, because he can't do it. Like, imagine that. Like we've never done that. We've never taken our family out to eat.
Wow. I guess that really hits home.
Yeah. So I have like this like underlying jealousy, like truly when I see like sports families, like going to the rink or to the baseball field and like going to eat. Cause like we have a lot of like tournaments where there's games throughout the day and all the other families just stay all day and like enjoy. And we can't do any of that. And I don't know how to make it work.
I don't think you can. And I think I have y'all always say that I like to go everywhere, but I had that and then don't now. And it is very, it's really isolating not to just, and people will be like, well, you don't ever hang out or y'all don't do anything. I'm like, because I'm in jail. I don't mean that in a mean way, but like, I can't leave the house, unless it's just the reality of the situation. I'm not sitting around complaining about it, but if you really want to know why I'm not there, that's why.
It's just our life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, everyone, we're going to hop over to my supporter page. There's a link above if you want to join, and we're going to spend about 15 minutes with these 2 ladies in the hot seat. So bring the tough questions. Okay, I'll do it from Facebook, guys.
All right.
To Carrie.
Bye.